The ICPC has raised issues about the integrity of lawyers, and I'm pretty sure that that is something that is disturbing you. And that's not the first time. You just hinted at the impacts of the judiciary on elections, on the political climate and all of that. How does this come across to you, particularly as president of the NBA? Because I know that you must get some of these reports from time to time.
If you could draw my attention to the particular statement by the ICPC, and sometimes in Nigeria, it's very common for people to use, make sweeping statements and use one brush to tie every person. Of course, lawyers have some bad eggs amongst them, but that does not represent the large majority of lawyers. And like most Nigerians, there are many bad eggs amongst us whom we need to discipline and weed out to engender confidence in the people. And we are working with all relevant agencies, FIU, EFCC, ICPC, to see the best we can do to ensure that there is integrity in our profession and that lawyers are part of the global fight against money laundering, against terrorism financing, and other financial crimes. But it would be taking it too far to suggest that lawyers are behind it or lawyers are responsible for it. We know that some lawyers may have wrongly used their professional knowledge and experience to aid some of these activities. But that does not represent the face of the legal profession in Nigeria. And we have a big battle to fight in Nigeria to rid our society of corruption, financial crimes, economic crimes, and other criminalities that affect people's perception of Nigeria. We need to all join hands in this. We should go beyond blaming people, name calling, and get to the root causes of these problems and tackle them with every hand being on deck to ensure that we build a kind of society we'll be proud of, that other persons would want to deal with or do business and or even live in or go for holiday.
The chairman of the ICPC, Dr. Aliyu, actually just spoke about that when he received the chairman of one of your branches, the Gwagwalada branch. But he was actually, in a way, talking about mentoring or mentorship of younger lawyers who begin their career, that they should begin their career under the guidance of senior lawyers who possess unquestionable integrity over time. I don't know if you can speak to that, whether or not there is that mentoring system.
So, I mean, that's a sound advice. You want to be mentored by a person who will be a shining example. I like to tell a story of a man who was seated quietly in a train with a small child, and both of them were reading a book, while some other children made the loud noises. And upon being questioned by another parent on how he was able to do that, and he said, if you want to get a child to do something, you have to do it and yourself. The children learn to do things by watching. So it is with the legal profession. If you work with a lawyer who has integrity, who works with the highest ethical standards, and does work that meets international best practices, you're most likely going to be like him because he leads by example. Good company, they say, bad company, they say, corrupt good morals. So if you're a good person and you work with a bad person, and you continue to work with that person, you may, if care is not taken, come to take bad behavior as being an acceptable norm, and you may be corrupted by the same. So his advice is very sound. For young lawyers, you need to bring them up the way they should go. Tell them the right thing. Tell them the imperativeness of complying with the rules of professional conduct. That is the only way they will turn out to be good lawyers and be able to do that which is expected of lawyers and not being a tool in the hands of clients or criminals to do the wrong things that portray the legal profession in a bad light.
Well, there's also that, now that you speak about that, there are some ways in which people have questioned the independence of the judiciary, be it at the federal or state level, particularly at the state levels, where the executive arm of government, I wouldn't want to say a governor, where the executive arm of government provides certain things for the judiciary, surreptitiously expecting them to return the favor one way or the other. And in fact, in some cases, there are those who have said that because one individual is building courts or facilitating some activities for the judiciary in a particular environment or in a state, that the fellow is in control of the judiciary. Is that something that is concerning for the NBA? Is this something that is troubling?
It is concerning to us that the governors will do things for the judiciary as if they were doing them a favor. And oftentimes it's annoying since some governors talk about how, oh, I give cars to my judges, or even invite the judges and do a public presentation of vehicles or some other material to the judiciary, we believe it's demeaning and ought not to be. The judiciary should be an independent, though cooperating part of a government, but should not be demeaned or reduced to such a point where they should be given handouts as if a favor was being done to them. There's no way you can convince any person that the judiciary that finds itself in such a situation is independent. Never. Even if it is really independent, the perception will always be that they are the beck and call of the executive, and the executive will always bend them to their will, and they always do things that please the executive. Otherwise, those handouts will cease. Our position remains that if there's money, if there's anything needed by the judiciary, be it vehicles, courtrooms, and other infrastructural needs, they should be budgeted for in the judiciary budget, and the judiciary should be allowed to execute them. And nobody should give us the excuse that the judiciary is not able to do them, that unless you do it for them, the money will be embezzled. They are not trained in this. That's why they have a bureaucracy. That's why they have professionals employed in the judiciary to handle these things. The executive should not emasculate the judiciary, reduce them to a whipping boy or to begging. It's a beggarly situation where you see a chief judge continually visiting the office of the governor to beg that certain releases be made to them, that certain things be done to them. It demeans the judiciary, it robs it of its independence, and makes it difficult for the people to trust that such a judiciary can be independent. And happily, it is not so at the federal level. And we think the states should, as a matter of urgency, if they haven't done that, any state that hasn't done that should do so. Because justice is rooted in confidence. And any day that confidence is eroded or is seen to be gone, the people's confidence in the judiciary or its ability to do justice will forever be eroded.
So let me ask you pointedly, Mr. Osigwe, is the Nigerian judiciary independent, be it at the federal level or at the state level?
I've talked about the federal level. If you talk about financial autonomy, then to an extent we will say yes, it is independent at the federal level. At the state level, the answer would be a resounding no for majority of the states. Most chief judges still go to the governor for approvals, even for money for medical treatment, for foreign travels, or for training. It shouldn't be so. I mean, there may not be any publicly available evidence that the executive tries to put pressure or coerce the judiciary to give judgment. But to the extent you try to, any executive that tries to control the purse strings of the judiciary, to the extent that happens in any state, to that extent can one body say that such a judiciary is not independent, no matter the story you tell.
Just a quick one, and before we take a break, and then I'm pretty sure Kela would also want to be a part of this conversation. You recently took on the police concerning the probe of the Anambra State Attorney General. There are those who would say, on the one hand, the police has its job to do, as because of the IGP's police monitoring unit, because they invited him and released him on bail and all. For you, what are the issues? Is this part of the challenge to the independence of the judiciary, in your opinion?
Well, the Attorney General's office does not form part of the judiciary, but part of the administration of justice system. And the Attorney General of the state and that of the Federation have been given powers to take over, continue or discontinue proceedings. And the facts of the matter in Anambra would appear to suggest that the Attorney General of Anambra State or the Minister of the entered a nolle prosequi or a withdrawal of a pending criminal charge. And then the police alleged that the process that led to that, there was forgery contained in that process. And mind you, the Attorney General never complained to the police that her document anything was forged. And the police thought that it was a matter for investigation. And we felt that this was an attempt and an overreach by the police, because even the courts have consistently held that even the judiciary cannot question the reason, the correctness or otherwise of a decision by an Attorney General to discontinue a case. So if the court cannot question it, then who is the police to investigate it or purport to have power to investigate it? That decision may not be a legally sound one. It may not be a politically sound one, but it is for the Attorney General's employer, the governor, to determine whether the Attorney General still meets the need for why he appointed him or her. It's not for the police to investigate. It's an overreach. The police has no such constitutional power, and they cannot hide under the power to investigate crime. to try to emasculate the exercise of constitutional power by an attorney general. And for us, that is an overreach. That is a territory that if the police is allowed to enter into, tomorrow the police will also invite a judge or a judicial officer for giving judgment, even where there is no basis for such an inquiry. And we should not encourage it. And we condemned it, and it should never happen, and should not be encouraged, and should not even be thought of.